Mild spoilers ahead. Alright, so, The Boys. What a show. There's so much about it that's great. The acting, the costumes, the aesthetic, the storytelling, and it all serves the same purpose. When I first started to watch The Boys, I thought it'd be just sort of like a Defenders Netflix-like show that I would just leave on in the background and occasionally watch. My memories of Punisher are pretty much me doing literally anything else and just hearing John Bernthal screaming, What I find so interesting about The Boys is what it has to say about politics, corruption, corporations, idolization, and celebrity. Superheroes are seamlessly integrated into our type of a world. It isn't DC, it isn't Marvel, it's a take on how superheroes would shift around our society. The writer of the original series, Garth Ennis, said The Boys was really about the effect superheroes would have on society and history, if they really existed, and of course, the effect that politics and corporate backing would have on them. Especially where we are today with American society, The Boys has a lot of relevant things to talk about, and I'm going to focus in on one particular aspect. Hey, this is fleshmonk from the future, here to just plug my Twitter at @thefleshmonk. There you can see my hot takes before they get on video, or even the hot takes that never get on video. So hit that link in the description below and follow me. Thanks. The Boys kind of tricks you in so many ways. It's kind of like a magician keeps you looking in one direction when you really should be looking in the other. When it starts, you could easily mistake this for like a TV version of a Snyder movie. You got the blue color correction, lens flares, and high contrast. And with that, it's already done its first trick, which is kind of like priming you for a superhero experience. The show molds their aesthetic around being like the Snyder movies and exploits that. So you start to focus on the heroes. Especially since the heroes are the focus of the universe, it's really easy to get fixated on them and not the boys. Especially with the Seven being so interesting and chewing the scenery, in my opinion, the boys get outshined a lot. And that's a really interesting idea if it was done intentionally. The show has a really interesting arc for the Seven. First you start to think, oh okay, they're just like complete villains. Then you start gaining some sympathy for them, and then they do more irredeemable shit. But you understand why. And I think this is super dope. Because at the end of the day, these heroes are flawed in a way that celebrities and people in power are flawed. And not only that, but the Seven are nothing but more cogs in the machine. When you think about superheroes, you don't really think about capitalism. You don't really think about money problems or how superheroes have to deal with the financial trappings of their society. The only hero that really deals with explicit money problems is Spider-Man. Everyone else is either rich or lives with the government or whatever. So I think in a subconscious way, it's kind of like, okay, what are the Seven doing? What's their game plan? And their game plan, for the most part, is VOTs. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, the Seven aren't an independent entity. They're owned by VOT. The most powerful and famous superhero team is owned by a corporation. That comes with so many weird and different implications. Instead of worrying about what threats to stop, the optimal crimes to stop are calculated. There are brand endorsements, and every hero is essentially like a stock. The uber-powerful superheroes are nothing but subjects in the grand system of capitalism. When I realized that, I was so surprised because it was like, wow, I'm not used to superheroes who aren't really empowered. These people had all the dressings of superheroes, when in reality they're just super-powered public figureheads of VOT. Which means that these superheroes really serve the whims of their shareholders. When Starlight makes a dumb move, the marketing team has to find a way to spin it. When A-Train kills some person, a team of lawyers drafts an NDA and offers money to the victims. Even Homelander has to keep pushing to help make decisions, and he keeps getting turned down. And he's as powerful as Superman. In a way, this makes the story of the boys a lot more tragic because you just can't kill Homelander and be done with it. The boys glorify this goal of killing Supes and getting even. Billy Butcher has a fixation and thinks this will solve all that's wrong with the world, or at least make him feel better. And that's kind of a flaw. And that's the flaw in how the world works and how the audience works. We kind of focus in on scapegoats and figureheads. And that's a real problem because that's not how these things work in fiction a lot of the time, and unfortunately, also real life. Even if you kill Homelander and the Seven, VOT has 200 plus heroes to call up. There will be a new Seven, and you've done nothing. Because the real enemy isn't so much the Supes. It's the system that has control over everything. There's this big goal in the show where VOT is trying to get Supes military funding, and it just shows how much power VOT has. And so as the show goes on, we follow Huey's perspective. We see that the real threat isn't the individual soups, meaning killing isn't necessarily the solution. They kill one of the 7 early on and it doesn't really help anybody. It doesn't even help Huey. The real threat is Vought and their snowballing power. Vought holds all the cards. Everyone idolizes these soups like they're the Kardashians, and now they plan on integrating these people into the military because that's where the money is. And now for the serious spoiler warning, because I'm about to spoil like a whole lot more about the show, so if this sounds all good to you and you want to watch, go ahead. Otherwise, you were warned. When you get even deeper into the show, it's revealed that not only is Vought doing all this regular, heinous corporation shit, but they're also behind the creation of the soups. And the creation of the soups is injecting babies with a substance called Compound V. And then at that point it's like, dang dude, this corporation did unethical experiments, secretly came up with something that they took advantage of, and pretending that it's all from God. The show pitches itself as superheroes but edgy and ramped up, but honestly, it's more like capitalism edgy and ramped up. Especially because like the deeper you get into the show, the more you start to sympathize with the 7. You start to see that while they're still at fault, they are very clearly products of their environment and upbringing. All things that Vought kinda controls and influences. And their shining homeboy, aka the worst boy, is the one that Vought controlled the most. He was born, raised without parents, and used as a lab rat. And he grew up to become this dude without any real moral compass. And you got the Deep, who is a dude completely emasculated by this corporation and his peers and seeks empowerment by sexually assaulting people. And he gets away with it because of what value he adds to Vought. Then he gets Me Too'd, makes a PR statement that we've all heard and seen before in real life, and languishes in Ohio to take a break until it's safe to come back. And despite all this shit, he's a great character. I sympathize with him and I feel bad even though he really fucked up one of our main characters. He coerced many women into sexual acts and he's an awful human being, but you really get the sense that he's like that because of the system. It's all systemic. Queen Maeve has turned into this emotionally stunted, cynical woman who just does what she's told because it's easy and because she's afraid to show weakness. A-Train takes superhero steroids because he's afraid of aging, being slower, and becoming a nobody. All these heroes are bad people, and they do bad things, but the show gets us to sympathize with their situation. It's like their lives were molded to make it so that they'd serve it. We even found out that Starlight's parents took some money from Vought so that their baby would get superpowers in E-Special. All this kinda culminates in Homelander's secret side gig of creating supervillains. So here's what happens. Without the knowledge of Vought, shipments of Compound V are given to A-Train. A-Train, a speedster, runs it around the world, injecting possible villains, and now, when the military and soup integration bill fails, boom, the world's first supervillain pops up. And more will pop up all over the globe. And it's all part of Homelander's plan to make soup integration into the military a thing. And it's like, dang dude, even Vought didn't know, but when they found out, they approved of it and gave him a nice little prize. And it's not like any typical supervillain plan in any superhero movie or TV show. It's not the creation of a kryptonite island or destroying the Earth. The goal is to increase stock prices. That's the goal! Homelander is doing this just to make the company more money, so they hopefully give him more control, or I don't even know why he's doing it, he's just doing it. These characters are all so complex, and it's obvious that the solution isn't just gonna be kill Homelander, if you could even do that. To fix the world of the boys, major systemic change is gonna have to happen. The boys, and us, have to look past the scapegoats and figureheads and attack the root causes of these problems. And that's what Huey starts to do. That's what the rest of the boys start to do, except for Butcher. Like Vought, the same company that pushes this Make America Great Again Homelander, also pushes Starlight as this pro-feminism hero who is a figurehead of a Me Too type movement, while trying to amp up her sex appeal. It mirrors the hypocrisy of corporations that try to have it both ways. And it's so dangerously relevant to our current times, and it's not hard to see how. Late-stage capitalism, which is immoral and unethical, has taken root into our society, and increasingly unethical things are being done to keep it that way. And when our society tries to push back, the capitalism machine always has a way to redirect that somewhere else. Capitalism made 24-hour news channels. It made Fox News, clickbait headlines, automation, fake news, stilted debate coverage, lobbyists, trickle-down economics, the corruption of politics, billion-dollar corporations not paying taxes, and it all leads to things like Donald Trump becoming president. Homelander, much like Trump, he markets himself as the choice for God's people. He markets himself to middle America. And like a whole bunch of other fascist leaders, he uses a national tragedy to rally support. But he's not the end, you know? Getting rid of him isn't going to get rid of all the problems. It's ultimately maybe a nice thing that makes us feel better, but it won't make huge substantial change. If Butcher kills Homelander, there's always going to be more Supes. The Boys is an amazing TV show that has so much to say through the guise of superheroes. It paints a picture of what capitalism would look like if it was even more out of control, and it melds it with criticisms of current pop culture and celebrity worship. I'd highly recommend watching season 1. I got plans for like a whole cluster bomb of reviews coming up, so have fun. Thanks for watching, stay cool, and stay fleshy.